Thank you very much, all of you, for being here today. This is recognized in the month of October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Today, October 18th, is Wear Purple Day, and as I just said a minute ago, I had to swing by the house to make sure I was wearing purple. But I see my colleagues were ahead of me. They came prepared this morning. And we also made a request for everybody to wear purple, and so thank you for all of you who've committed to do that. Those of you who failed to do that, we have a meeting later today. Still going over the budget, so just so you know. But this is a very serious thing. The color purple has come to symbolize what the impacts are for both victims and survivors of domestic violence. And domestic violence is one of the situations that really doesn't know any boundaries. It isn't about your demographics, your age, or your race. It affects both genders, although heavily it affects women. This is an across-the-board thing that's socio-economic across the board. This month-long observance is about being vigilant. It's about making sure that we send a message that domestic violence has to end, and it ends with a combination of efforts that happen here. What the District Attorney's Office does, represented by Paul Noto, the Office for Women, the Probation Department, the Community Mental Health Department, our Commissioner Michael Orth is with us, the Department of Social Services, the Office for People with Disability, the Youth Bureau. All of these entities within county government have some impact and some involvement in this, as really do we all. But it's also very critical that we have all of the different organizations outside of government that are partners and have devoted their attention, full-time attention, to dealing with this issue. That includes the Pace Women Justice Center, My Sister's Place, Hope's Door, Westcop, Legal Services of the Hudson Valley, and the Loft. And I thank you for being here for this ceremony, more importantly, for what you're doing in the community every single day to deal with this issue. Now in a second, I'm going to light a candle to shine a light on this. The candle's going to burn on the 9th floor for the rest of the day, and then it'll be put out, symbolizing what we hope will be the end of domestic violence. I'm joined here by the Chairman of the Board of Legislators, Ben Boykin, by Deputy County Executive Ken Jenkins, by Joan McDonald, our Director of Operations. I know I'm off script, but I'd like each of them to say something if they'd like about this issue. Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Well, domestic violence is something that we will not and cannot tolerate. It affects women, it affects children, and it affects men also. And I said that at the at Pace Law School when they were opening the new center over there, that it's not only women, it's also men. But we've got to get rid of it. We cannot and must not tolerate it. And to be here with everyone from all over all county departments saying we stand together to stamp it out, because it's something we cannot afford to have in our community, in our county, and in our country. So thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Joan?
Sure. Thank you, George. I think what's important is, as we stand here today, and as the county executive's leadership demonstrates, whatever role we play in county government or in our partners in the not-for-profit world, it's important that we pause, take a moment to think of the victims who have gone before, and as the county executive said, keep hope that we won't have to stand here again. So I'm proud to be part of the team. I'm proud that we honor those who have been victims and make sure that we pause and reflect.
Ken?
And thank you, George. And certainly with all of our partners working together, this is the way that we can bring and continue to bring awareness to the scourge of domestic violence. Today, as well as Spirit Day, which I didn't really know was a thing, which connects that for our LGBTQ community as well, to continue to bring awareness to the domestic violence that happens, continue with every community. So with all of our partners, that's the way that we can stamp out this scourge, and we need to continue to have that level of awareness. And today, having that candle lit, and then to be able to extinguish it at the end of the day to make sure that we continue to bring awareness to domestic violence.
And let me just make one other comment before we light the candle. And in this, we recognize that men as well as women can be victims of domestic violence, but the great majority of our victims are our sisters, our mothers, our daughters. So let me say something to men. I've lived 64 years, almost 65 years, and I understand that for men in this society, there are certain expectations and there are certain behaviors that have become acceptable. It's not acceptable, guys. It's not acceptable to use physical force to hurt a woman, to hurt a child, to hurt a senior citizen. When I was a kid, whenever somebody bigger than you would use their physicality against you, the phrase was, pick on somebody your own size. Pick on somebody who could deliver violence for violence if that's where you want to go. And most prudent people don't do that. It's the strong picking on the weak, expressing anger for things that may not relate to any particular issue, just a sense to vent an anger or physical manifestation of disagreement. It is not acceptable. And I challenge every man here, and every man who might watch this, stand up and speak out when you see this example. In the locker rooms. It's locker room talk. When I was young, and I was once an athlete at some level of athletic ability, you say a lot of things in the locker room, but you mature. You grow up from that. You stop thinking that way with maturity. And it's time for us to tell our fellow members of our gender that this is not right. It's not acceptable. It's not okay. It's not cool. It's not funny. It's a serious, serious crime. Now, those in the district attorney's office at a level of proof will prosecute that as a crime. But it shouldn't happen in the first place, and it should not be societally acceptable. It shouldn't be funny. It shouldn't be something that you see in a video and somehow that can be glossed over. No, it's wrong. And frankly, if men don't say that to other men, we're going to be, working hard and never really accomplishing our mission. So we light a candle of hope, but we also make a strong, powerful, assertive statement. Understand the limits of power, physical power, when and where that's appropriate. And it's not appropriate when it's projected against someone weaker than you, male or female. It's not appropriate against the woman in your life. It's not appropriate against your little children. It's not appropriate against a senior citizen. It's not right. And that's the basis for why we want to see it come to an end. So with that, we've been joined by Catherine Borgia, Westchester County Legislature, head of our Budget and Appropriations Committee. Do we have any other legislators that I haven't seen an eye shot?
Chief of Staff.
Our Chief of Staff, Dennis Power, is here. We, of course, have our full executive team on the 9th floor who's with us here. And if there's anybody who wants to be introduced, raise your hand. I'll introduce you. Now we're going to see how adept I am with this. Just press it right here. Yes. This is why I don't have many barbecues at my house. Okay, let's see here.
Yeah, you have to hold up.
Yeah. That's all I have to do, huh?
The child lock, she said.
See, you have to let a woman do it. No, there we go. While we're waiting, talk amongst yourselves. Just to show you, I have no concern about my masculinity, Catherine. I'm good. And by the way, would you come over for the barbecue this weekend? Very good. There we are. Thank you all very much. Let's spend a few minutes being with each other.
Yeah, thank you.